I stood in the elevator, holding a bouquet of red roses and checking my watch. 10 years of marriage deserved more than flowers, but Varda always said it was the little things that counted. The doors opened to our penthouse floor, and I smiled, imagining her face when she saw the weekend getaway I'd planned. My name is Lance, and until today, I thought I had everything figured out. Successful tech company, beautiful wife, best friend as my business partner, the whole American dream package. Funny how life can shatter that illusion in seconds. The first warning should have been the music coming from our bedroom. Vada only played sad when she was feeling particular. I loosened my tie, thinking maybe she had plans of her own for our anniversary. Then I heard the laugh. Not hers, his. My feet moved automatically toward the sound. The bedroom door was slightly ajar, and I could see them in the reflection of our floor-to-ceiling windows. Vada straddling a man on our bed. Not just any man. Easton. The roses suddenly felt like thorns in my grip. "You're sure he won't be home?" Easton asked between kisses. "Please," Vada laughed. "Lance is probably still at the office trying to figure out where all the money went." I pushed the door open. The hinges creaked and they both turned. Neither looked particularly surprised or ashamed. If anything, Vada's lips curled into something resembling amusement. "Well," she said, reaching for her silk robe. "This is awkward." Easton sat up, not bothering to cover himself. "Bro, we need to talk." "Bro?" The word tasted like acid. "That's what you're going with?" "Look, it's not personal," Vada said, lighting a cigarette, something she'd supposedly quit years ago. "Easton makes more in a month than you do in a year now. The company's evolving, and honestly, you're not evolving with it." Easton stood, pulling on his pants. "We just tanked your shares, by the way. Board meeting tomorrow. You're basically broke." He smirked. "Sorry, man. Business is business." I looked at them both, my wife of 10 years and my best friend since college, the architects of my destruction, sitting there like they'd just won some cosmic game. The roses slipped from my fingers, scattering across the hardwood floor. Red petals, like drops of blood on our imported oak flooring. Vada always insisted on the best. "Nothing to say?" she asked, blowing smoke in my direction. "That's your problem, Lance. You never fight for anything. You just accept." I turned without a word and walked out. Behind me, I heard Easton mutter something about me being pathetic, followed by Vada's throaty laugh. The elevator ride down was silent. In the lobby, Thomas the doorman gave me his usual friendly nod. "Everything all right, Mr. Hayes?" "Perfect," I replied, my voice steady. "Everything's perfect." I got into my Tesla and sat there, hands on the wheel, staring at nothing. They thought they'd blindsided me. They thought this was day one of their victory lap. They were wrong. 2 weeks ago, I'd noticed a suspicious wire transfer, $400,000 to a shell company I'd never heard of. That same day, I hired a private investigator and a forensic accountant. While Easton and Vada were playing their game, I was already 10 moves ahead. I started the car, my reflection in the rearview mirror showing a smile that would have scared me 2 weeks ago. Happy anniversary, indeed. They wanted a war. Fine. But they'd soon learn that the quiet ones, the ones who never fight for anything, are the ones you should fear the most. 2 weeks earlier, I was reviewing quarterly reports when Mary knocked on my office door. Her face had that pinched look she gets when something's off. "Lance, I found something weird in the transfers," she said, placing a folder on my desk. "A payment to a company called Nexus Global, $400,000. I flipped through the documents. Never heard of them. Who authorized it?" "Easton did." She hesitated. "There's more. The receiving account is in the Cayman Islands." I leaned back, studying the ceiling. Easton had been acting strange lately, cancelling our weekly lunches, avoiding direct eye contact during meetings. Little things that meant nothing individually, but formed a pattern. "Mary, I need you to do something for me, quietly." She nodded, already pulling out her notebook. "Track every transfer Easton's authorized in the last 6 months, and..." I paused, hating what I was about to say. "Monitor his meetings, who he talks to, where he goes, including outside the office, especially outside the office." After she left, I made 2 calls. The first was to Patrick, a private investigator I'd used for corporate background checks. "I need surveillance on 2 people," I told him. "My business partner and my wife." Silence on the line, then, "You sure about this, Lance? Usually when guys hire me to watch their wives." "Just do it. Document everything." The second call was to Deborah, a forensic accountant who'd helped us uncover competitor fraud last year. I need you to follow some money, I said. Off the books. 3 days later, I sat in Patrick's car outside a coffee shop downtown. Through the window, I could see Varda and Easton at a corner table. Nothing obviously suspicious, just two people having coffee. Then Easton reached across the table and touched her hand. Got it, Patrick said, his camera clicking rapidly. Want me to follow them? No. I watched Varda laugh at something Easton said. Just send me everything you have so far. Back at the office, Mary caught me before a board meeting. Lance, I found something else. 3 more transfers to offshore accounts, all authorized by Easton, all with a second digital signature. Whose? She handed me a tablet. It's encrypted, but look at the timestamp on this one. 3:47 a.m. last Tuesday. I remembered waking up alone that night. Vada had said she was working late on her laptop. My phone buzzed. An email from Deborah. The subject line read, Urgent. Evidence of systematic fraud. I opened the attachment. Pages of transactions, shell companies, hidden accounts. And there it was, Varda's name, buried in the paperwork of an offshore trust. Mary watched my face. Should I cancel your meetings for the rest of the day? No. I stood up, straightening my tie. But get me Rosalind from the board on the phone. And Mary? Yes? Thank you, for being someone I can trust. She gave me a sad smile. Of course. That night, I came home to find Vada cooking dinner, something she never did. She wore the diamond earrings I'd given her for our 9th anniversary. You've been working so hard lately, she said, kissing my cheek. I thought you deserved a treat. I hugged her, breathing in her perfume. New, expensive, not a gift from me. You're too good to me, I said, the lies tasting like ash in my mouth. My phone vibrated in my pocket. Another message from Patrick. A recording this time. I'd listen to it later, alone in my office. For now, I'd eat my wife's cooking and pretend I didn't see the text from Easton, lighting up her phone on the counter. Sometimes the best revenge requires patience, and I could be very, very patient. The recording from Patrick played through my earbuds as I sat in my home office. Varda's voice, crystal clear. He's too trusting. He'll never see it coming. Easton's laugh followed. Sometimes I feel bad. He's like a puppy, always so eager to please. Don't feel bad, Varda said. He's been holding you back for years. Both of us. I pulled out an old photo from my desk drawer, the 3 of us at the company's launch party. Easton had his arm around my shoulders. Varda was beaming at the camera. We looked happy. The glass cracked as I gripped the frame too tight. A soft knock at the door. Honey, Varda called. You've been in there for hours. Just finishing some work, I replied, keeping my voice neutral. She opened the door, wearing one of my old college shirts as a nightgown. A calculated move. She knew I loved seeing her in my clothes. You've been so paranoid lately, she said, perching on my desk. Easton mentioned you've been asking Mary to track his meetings. I shrugged. Standard procedure, new SEC requirements. Right, she touched my shoulder. Maybe you're just losing your touch. The business world's changing, Lance. Not everyone can keep up. My phone buzzed. A text from Deborah. Found a smoking gun. Call me ASAP. Varda glanced at my phone. Work never stops, does it? Come to bed soon. After she left, I called Deborah. They've been planning this for months, she said. Easton's been systematically transferring company assets into shell corporations. Varda's name is on all of them. How much? 17 million so far. But that's not all. They've been shorting company stock through anonymous accounts. When they tank the shares, they'll make a fortune betting against us, I finished. The next day, Easton cornered me after a board meeting. We need to talk about the company's direction. Sure, I said, playing dumb. What's on your mind? Look, you're great with the technical stuff, but maybe it's time to step back from the executive decisions. He clapped my shoulder. Let me handle the big picture. I forced a smile. Whatever's best for the company. Later, Mary brought me coffee and a stack of documents. Easton's called an emergency board meeting for next week. He's going to try to force you out. Perfect. I took a sip. Everything ready on your end? She nodded. All the evidence is backed up in 3 different locations. Rosalind and the other board members have received the preliminary reports. And the SEC? Deborah submitted everything this morning. They're very interested. I picked up the broken photo frame from my desk. Behind me, the city skyline glittered through floor-to-ceiling windows. 10 years of marriage. 15 years of friendship. All of it built on lies. My phone lit up with a text from Varda. Working late again tonight. Don't wait up. I texted back. No problem. Love you. Patrick sent another audio file. This time it was Easton. Once the shares tank will be set, Lance won't know what hit him. Varda's response. He's just average. What we have is real. I closed my eyes, letting their words wash over me. When I opened them, my reflection in the window showed a different man than the one in the broken photograph. Mary appeared in the doorway. Lance, Patrick's here with the final surveillance report. Send him in. I turned from the window. It's time to end this. The sun was setting behind the city, casting long shadows across my office. In 1 week, they planned to destroy everything I'd built. In 1 week, they'd learn exactly how wrong they were about me being average. I started showing up late to meetings, missing deadlines, looking distracted during video calls. Every sign of a man losing his grip. Lance seems overwhelmed, I overheard Easton telling the board. It's affecting company performance. Roslyn, our senior board member, caught my eye across the conference room. She gave me the slightest nod, our signal that she'd received the latest evidence package. After the meeting, Varda called. Honey, we need to talk about us. Everything okay? I asked, already knowing what was coming. I think we need some time apart. You're not the man I married anymore. I muted the phone and laughed. She was trying to file for divorce first, claimed she left because I was failing, not because she was stealing millions. Whatever you think is best, I said when I unmuted. I just want you to be happy. Don't make this harder than it needs to be, she replied, her voice cold. My lawyer will contact you. Mary rushed into my office after the call. Lance, we have a problem. Easton's asking IT to purge the audit logs. Getting nervous, is he? I smiled. Tell Deborah to send the SEC the final package. It's time. I met Roslyn for coffee that afternoon. She slid a folder across the table. The board is horrified, she said. We've already contacted the authorities. Easton doesn't know yet, but he's been removed from all accounts. And the emergency board meeting he planned? Cancelled. Instead, we're meeting to discuss pressing charges. She touched my hand. Lance, I'm so sorry about Varda. I pulled away. Don't be. Just make sure they can't hurt anyone else. Back at the office, Patrick was waiting with new surveillance photos. Varda and Easton at a real estate office, signing papers for a beach house in Malibu. They used company money for the down payment, Patrick said. Real amateur move. They're getting sloppy, I agreed. Overconfident. My phone buzzed. Easton calling. I put it on speaker. Lance buddy, we should grab a drink, talk about the future. Sure, I said. How about tomorrow? Our anniversary. A pause. Yeah, perfect. Listen, about the company. Don't worry about it. Everything's going exactly as it should. After hanging up, I opened my laptop and checked the timing. SEC notification was set for tomorrow at 2 p.m. Police would arrive by 2:15. The board's termination email would hit at 2:10. Mary appeared with more coffee. The divorce papers are ready. Assets will be frozen the moment you give the word. Perfect. I looked at the photo of Varda and Easton at the real estate office. One more day of them thinking they've won. Lance? Mary hesitated. Are you sure you want to catch them like that? At your house? They chose the battlefield when they made it personal. I stood up, gathering my coat. I'm just letting them dig their own grave. As I drove home, Varda texted, won't be home tonight, working late. I passed by our house anyway. Easton's car was parked 2 blocks away. They weren't even trying to hide anymore. In my car, I pulled out my phone and played the latest recording Patrick had sent. Their voices filled the quiet space. Varda, tomorrow's the day. Once the board meeting's done, he'll have nothing. Easton, you really think he suspects nothing? Varda, please. Lance sees what he wants to see. That's why it was so easy. I turned off the recording and looked at our bedroom window. The light was on. Enjoy tonight, I whispered. Tomorrow you'll see exactly what I've been seeing all along. I sat in my car outside our favorite restaurant, where Varda and I had our first date. Through the window, I could see her and Easton at our old table, their heads close together, laughing. My phone buzzed. Another video from Patrick. I shouldn't have watched it, but I did. Hotel security footage. Varda pushing Easton against the wall, kissing him. Their voices crystal clear through the high-end microphones Patrick had planted. He's just average, Varda was saying. This is real. What we have is real. Something snapped inside me. I hurled my phone at the dashboard, then pressed my forehead against the steering wheel, breathing hard. A tap on my window made me jump. Mary stood there, holding a file and looking concerned. You shouldn't be here, she said, when I rolled down the window. Not tonight. I needed to see it. I gestured at the restaurant, to remind myself what I'm dealing with. Well, I have something better. She handed me the file. Everything's ready. Want to go through it one more time? We drove to a quiet coffee shop across town. Mary laid out the timeline on the table between us. 2 p.m. tomorrow. SEC notification hits their phones, she said, pointing to her notes. 2:10, board sends termination notice to Easton. 2:15, police arrive with warrants. And the divorce papers? Ready to file the moment you give the signal. Assets will freeze instantly. She paused. The timing has to be perfect. My phone rang. Deborah. Final confirmation from the SEC, she said. They're moving on this. Easton's looking at serious time. And Varda? The offshore accounts are in her name too. She's equally liable. I hung up and stared at my coffee. Play the recording again. Mary hesitated. Lance, please. She pulled up the audio on her tablet. Varda's voice filled our corner of the coffee shop. Once we're done, he'll have nothing. No company, no money, no wife. Perfect revenge for thinking he could keep me in his boring little world. I closed my eyes. 10 years of memories flashed by. Our wedding, building the company, quiet Sunday mornings reading the paper together. All lies. Lance, Mary's voice was gentle. We should go over the final details. I straightened up. Right, walk me through it again. She pulled out another file. You'll arrive home early, supposedly surprising them. The flowers are ordered, same kind as your first date. Red roses, her favorite. The moment you leave the room, I trigger the alerts. Everything's timed to the second. She showed me the synchronized notifications on her tablet. By the time you walk back in, their phones will be blowing up. Patrick called next. Police are briefed. They'll wait for your signal before moving in. And the cameras? Already installed. We'll catch everything. Their reaction, the arrests, all of it. I nodded, then pulled out the old photo from my wallet. Us at our wedding. Easton was best man, beaming at the camera. I ripped it in half, then quarters. One more thing, Mary said, sliding an envelope across the table. Rosalind asked me to give you this. Inside was a letter confirming my position as CEO would be secure after tomorrow's events. The board's unanimous support. My phone lit up with a text from Varda. Working late tomorrow, don't wait up. I smiled for the first time in weeks. Tell everyone to get some sleep. Tomorrow's going to be a long day. Mary gathered the files. Lance, for what it's worth, they deserve this. I looked at the torn photo pieces scattered across the table. Yes, they do. Tomorrow they'd learn that betrayal cuts both ways, and my cuts would be far deeper than theirs. I stood in front of the mirror, adjusting my tie, the same blue one I wore on our first date. Behind me, my phone lit up with messages from the team. Mary, all systems ready. Timing synchronized. Deborah. SEC standing by. Patrick. Police units in position. Rosalind. Board members notified. Good luck. The florist delivered the roses exactly at 1:30 p.m. Red, like blood, like revenge. Special occasion? The delivery guy asked. Wedding anniversary, I replied. 10 years. My phone buzzed again. Patrick. They're both there. Easton arrived 20 minutes ago. I drove home slowly, rehearsing every step. The elevator ride up, the walk to the door, the moment of discovery. Everything had to look natural. In the lobby, Thomas the doorman smiled. Flowers for Mrs. Hayes. Anniversary surprise. That's sweet, though. He hesitated. Mr. Easton went up a while ago, said he had some papers for her to sign. Perfect, I muttered. Sir? Nothing. Thanks, Thomas. The elevator felt like a countdown, each floor bringing me closer to the moment we'd planned for weeks. My phone showed 1:55 p.m. Mary texted, all alerts queued, ready on your signal. I could hear music through our door. Said, their little ritual. 1:57 p.m. I inserted my key slowly, deliberately. The door opened without a sound. 1:58 p.m. Their voices drifted from the bedroom, mixed with laughter. I checked my watch one last time. 1:59 p.m. I walked down the hallway, roses in hand. Just like we rehearsed. The bedroom door was slightly ajar. 2 dials of p.m. I pushed it open. They were there, exactly as expected. Varda straddling Easton on our bed. Well, she said, reaching for her robe, this is awkward. I played my part perfectly. The shocked husband, the betrayed friend. Let them say their practiced lines about money and power. Nothing to say, Varda sneered. That's your problem, Lance. You never fight for anything. I turned and walked out, dropping the roses. Right on cue, but this time, instead of leaving, I stopped in the hallway and counted. 1, 2, 3. I pulled out my phone and texted Mary. Execute. Then I turned around and walked back into the bedroom. Varda was lighting a cigarette. Back for more humiliation. Check your phones, I said quietly. What? Easton reached for his phone just as it started buzzing. Then Varda's phone went off. Then both their laptops pinged with emails. I watched their faces change as the notifications poured in. SEC investigation launched. Board termination notice. Asset freeze alerts. Police en route. What? What is this? Easton's voice cracked. Happy anniversary, I said, pulling out a chair and sitting down. You should read those emails carefully, especially the ones about the offshore accounts. Varda's face went white. You knew. 2 weeks ago, the first wire transfer was sloppy, Easton. Amateur move. Sirens wailed in the distance, getting closer. You can't prove anything. Easton stood up, trying to look threatening. Actually, I can prove everything. The SEC has quite a file on you both. Fraud, embezzlement, insider trading. The siren stopped outside our building. You're bluffing, Varda whispered. I smiled and checked my watch. No, I'm timing. Heavy footsteps pounded up the hallway. Multiple sets. By the way, I said as the police burst in. You were wrong about one thing. Varda looked at me as the officers grabbed Easton. I do fight for things. I just prefer to win. The police moved with practiced efficiency. Easton was already in cuffs, his face a mask of disbelief as they read him his rights. You don't understand, he kept saying. I'm the CFO. I'm authorized to steal $17 million. I pulled out my phone and played one of Patrick's recordings. Easton's voice filled the room. Once we tank the shares, we'll be set for life. Lance won't know what hit him. Varda lunged for her phone, but an officer intercepted her. Mrs. Hayes, please stay where you are. You can't do this, she hissed at me. I'm your wife. Funny thing about marriage, I said, pulling out another envelope. It's just paperwork, like these divorce papers, or these bank records showing you as co-signer on all those offshore accounts. More footsteps in the hallway. Roslyn appeared with 2 SEC agents. Lance, she nodded. The board's emergency meeting just concluded. Unanimous vote. Easton struggled against his cuffs. What vote? To remove you as CFO and press charges, Roslyn said. The evidence is overwhelming. What evidence? Varda demanded. I nodded to Mary, who'd quietly entered behind Roslyn. She opened her laptop and started playing videos on our bedroom TV. Footage of their secret meetings, bank transfers, hotel rendezvous, recorded conversations about stealing company assets. 2 weeks of surveillance, I explained, plus 6 months of financial records. Deborah's very thorough. You bastard, Varda spat. You spied on us. No, I investigated criminals. There's a difference. The SEC agents approached Varda. Mrs. Hayes, we have a warrant for your arrest. She backed away. Lance, please, we can talk about this. Like you talked about me. What was it you said? He's just average. Her face crumpled. I didn't mean... Save it for your lawyer. I turned to the agents. She has a passport in her dresser drawer. Third one down. They found it exactly where I said, along with cash and jewelry she'd been squirreling away. As they led them both out, Easton tried one last time. Lance, come on. We've been friends forever. Friends don't steal from friends, Easton, and they definitely don't sleep with their friends' wives. In the hallway, Thomas the doorman watched wide-eyed as the procession passed. Varda, still in her silk robe, being led away in handcuffs. Easton, the polished CFO, Now just another white-collar criminal. Mr. Hayes, Thomas called. Should I still accept their packages? No need, I replied. They won't be coming back. Rosalind touched my arm. The press will be here soon. Do you want to make a statement? No. I watched the elevator doors close on my past life. The evidence speaks for itself. Mary was already coordinating with the officers, handling paperwork, managing the chaos. She'd gotten a raise that morning, a big one. My phone buzzed one last time. Deborah. SEC estimates they'll face 15-20 years, plus full asset forfeiture. I walked back into the bedroom, now empty except for the scattered rose petals on the floor. On the nightstand, Varda's wedding ring sat next to her favorite photo of us. Lance, Mary appeared in the doorway. What should we do with their personal items? I picked up the wedding ring and photo, have it all boxed and sent to their lawyers. I dropped both items into the trash. Except these stay here. The board meeting's in an hour, she reminded me. To confirm you as CEO, I nodded, straightening my tie. Then let's not keep them waiting. As we left, I took one last look at the bedroom where my marriage had died and my revenge had been born. Happy anniversary, Varda, I whispered, and closed the door. The morning sun streamed through my office windows as I reviewed the final damage reports. Mary brought in coffee and the latest headlines. Tech CEO, couple faces, federal charges in $1 million fraud scheme. Corporate power couples fall from grace. Hayes Technologies stock soars after leadership change. Their lawyers called again, Mary said. Varda's offering to testify against Easton for a reduced sentence. Let them tear each other apart. I set the papers aside. Any word from the board? Rosalind's here to see you, actually. Rosalind entered, looking pleased. The European expansion is approved. Full backing from the board. I'm not sure that's what I want anymore, I said, standing to look out at the city. Building something just to get bigger, isn't that what corrupted them? Maybe, but you're not them. She placed a contract on my desk. Whatever you decide, the board trusts you. After she left, I walked through the office. Employees nodded respectfully. No more whispers, no more questioning glances. The truth had set everyone free. My phone buzzed, Patrick sending his final report. Security footage from the courthouse showed Easton and Varda screaming at each other outside the arraignment. Former lovers, now bitter enemies. Quite a show, Patrick texted. Worth every penny. I reached my old office, the one I'd had before becoming CEO. Started clearing out the last of my things. In the bottom drawer, I found that broken photograph from the launch party. The glass was still cracked, but the image was clear. 3 smiling faces, all lies. Want me to throw that away? Mary asked from the doorway. No, I placed it in a box. Keep it, as a reminder. Of what? The betrayal? Of who I used to be, and who I'll never be again. Deborah called with updates. Easton's assets were frozen. Varda's hidden accounts discovered. Their Malibu dream house seized by the feds. They'll never recover from this, she said, financially or professionally. Good. Thomas from the lobby called next. Sir, Mrs. Hayes' sister is here collecting her things. Should I allow it? Yes, but have security supervise. I walked to the conference room where I'd spent countless hours with Easton planning the company's future. Now his name was being stripped from everything. Documents, websites, history itself. Mary followed with more coffee. The press wants interviews. Your story's going viral. No interviews. I sat at the head of the table. Let the court records speak for themselves. People are calling you a hero, you know, standing up to corporate fraud, fighting back against betrayal. I shook my head. I'm not a hero. I just refuse to be a victim. My phone lit up with a message from Varda. I'm sorry for everything. Please, help me. I deleted it without responding. The new board meeting starts in 10 minutes, Mary reminded me. Ready? I looked around the office. My office now. Really mine, not just in name. Every inch earned through fire and pain and determination. Actually, I said, let's move the meeting to tomorrow. Tonight, I want to do something else. What's that? I picked up the broken photograph and took out my lighter. I'm going to burn this, then have a drink. Want to join me? She smiled. Absolutely. The photograph caught fire easily, turning those 3 smiling faces to ash. As I watched it burn, I felt no sadness, no anger, no regret, only peace. To new beginnings, I said, raising my glass. To justice, Mary replied. The city lights twinkled beyond my window, and for the first time in weeks, I felt truly free.